The battle for midsize pickup trucks is about to get a lot more intense. Is Chevy's all-new Colorado ready for the fight? What's up, folks? I'm Dave Undercoffler, editor-in-chief of Autolist.com, a sister company to CarGurus. The midsize truck market is heating up like never before, thanks to all new generations of the Toyota Tacoma and the Ford Ranger. But Chevy is out first with this new generation of the Colorado. It's been completely redesigned inside and out and offers a broad range of models to suit the needs of any midsize buyer. But is that going to be enough to fend off the Toyota and the Ford? Let's go find out. All right, we're gonna start with the exterior, and as I mentioned, Chevy gave this Colorado a complete redesign, and I really like what they did. This is a very handsome, bold truck. It's not too futuristic, but it definitely will age well over the coming years. We're testing a Z71 package, and it's got a few options too. So overall, everything you see here is about $47,000, including destination. That's getting a little pricey, but I'll explain some of those features a little bit later. Looking at a few of the details, we've got LED daytime running lamps up top here. You also have LED fog lamps down below. Really nice fascia here. You've got some black on the grille and then some dark gray. Really nice complementing this color. This color is called nitro yellow. I know it may look a little green in the shade. We'll show you a little bit later in the sun. It does sort of pop. I don't know about the color overall. If I would choose it, kind of looks like the truck needs to drink more water, but it is what it is. And then again, because it's a Z71 package, we have red recovery hooks down below. Moving to the side, again, our Z71 package gets us 18-inch alloy wheels. Those are really nice looking wheels. I like that. You've got body-colored door handles, black mirror caps there. Overall, the entire Colorado is roughly about the same length as it used to be. The wheelbase has been stretched a little bit, and it's now quite a bit wider than the previous model. And then finally, at the rear of the Colorado, that handsome styling that you see elsewhere on the truck continues back here. It's really nice. I like that you've got steps integrated into the bumpers there. You've got Chevrolet stamped onto the tailgate. Speaking of the tailgate, because we have the Z71 package, we get an easy lift tailgate. Basically, it means it comes down nice and slow. It also makes it easier to fold up. And then built into this tailgate is a locking compartment, keeps things out of the way. That's just sort of a nice little trick to have. The bed itself is 5 feet 2 inches long. That's the only bed size you can get on this new generation of Colorado. And speaking of cabs, there's only one option there as well. It's a 4-door crew cab setup. There are a couple other options that our tester has. This spray-in bed liner is about $475. And then you've got a generator here, and it's certainly useful, but it's not nearly as powerful as something you're going to find on an EV or even a full-size pickup truck. All right, now let's look under the hood. And again, this is another area where Chevy has simplified. There's only one engine available now on this new Colorado. It's a 2.7 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine. The power output depends on which trim you get. Base trims will get 237 horsepower, whereas the rest of the lineup and what most people are going to end up buying gets this 310 horsepower setup that we've got on the Z71 trim. Torque also depends on which trim you get. Here we've got 391 pound-feet. That's pretty healthy for a 4-cylinder. And then all of that is routed through an 8-speed automatic transmission and either rear-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. But what do you guys think? Is a turbocharged 4-cylinder enough, or do you wish Chevy had kept its V6 or offered a hybrid option? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. Turning to the interior, this is another area where Chevy completely redesigned the Colorado, and I like a lot of what they've done here. The main thing you see here is this 11.3-inch infotainment screen. It's a touchscreen, really bright and crisp. I like that. I also like that this is standard on all models of Colorado. The new Tacoma does have a larger screen, but that's only on some of the higher trims. So here, everyone who gets a Colorado gets this screen. I do like that. And then on top of that, we have an 8-inch digital instrument panel right here. Turning back to the screen, it's got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto connectivity, and it has Google built-in, which means you get Google Maps as the default navigation system. You also have Google Assistant and Google's Play Store. The screen itself is really nice. It's bright, it's crisp, it's really responsive to your touch, very modern screen. Another thing that I really like is that while you have Apple CarPlay connected, you still have this menu right down here. You don't always see that in some cars. And then down below the screen, you've got your climate control functions. I like that these are physical buttons and knobs rather than something built into the touchscreen. You also have a physical knob for the volume control. We're testing a pretty loaded Z71, so there's some features on this truck that aren't going to come on all models. That includes heated and ventilated front seats. And then down below that, you've got another series of buttons, including one I think is pretty cool. It's a one-touch roll all the windows down button. It's certainly handy to have, but what it doesn't do is roll all the windows back up. You've got to use the buttons on the door for that. Again, we're testing a pretty loaded model, so this one has some goodies you're not going to see on every trim. That includes a heated leather-wrapped steering wheel. You've got wireless smartphone charging down below, and then a sunroof up top. Overall, I really do like the interior. It's really nicely set up. Everything's easy to find. Everything makes sense where Chevy has placed it. When it comes to build quality and materials, Chevy also did a nice job there. This feels like a very stout, refined interior. The one exception to that is some of the cheap plastics that they use on the top of the dashboard, the top of the door here. I don't love those. I don't think they're going to age very well. But the rest of the materials are nice. Again, leather on the steering wheel. You've got this nice material across the front of the dashboard, some of the stitching. We've got leather seats in our tester. And then the seat comfort itself, pretty good. I've felt better, but overall, no complaints here. This is going to be comfortable for a pretty long road trip. Finally, one minor nitpick about this interior that's been driving me crazy while we've been testing the Colorado is that for some reason, Chevy decided to do away with the headlight buttons. They've put it into the screen. So for the headlights themselves, it's not too hard to find. There's a dedicated button up there. You have off, you have auto mode, where I think Chevy thinks most people are going to keep it. You can also turn your daytime running lights on or your headlights on. But if you want to use those fog lights, the LED fog lights that come on this Z71, you've got to go to a couple menus. You hit that, and then there's a button down here that doesn't seem that intuitive, especially if it is foggy and you're trying to drive and look for the buttons of the lights. It would be so much nicer if they were just over here or on the stalk where everybody else is putting their light controls. So again, it's minor, not a deal breaker at all, but it has been kind of inconvenient. All right, turning to the rear seats, before I get in, I want to show you some nice features that I like that Chevy has built in. For one, these seat cushions fold up. There's a little bit of storage space down there. There's a jack stand right now, but you could take that out and put some other things down there for extra storage. Those fold down pretty easily. The headrests also fold out of the way, giving you more visibility when no one is sitting back here. There is a sliding rear window, but unfortunately it's not powered. That's kind of frustrating. This is a $47,000 truck. You think that that feature would be powered, but anyway. And then finally, you've got a nice armrest in the center with a pair of cup holders. Now, when it comes to space, this is where I have a few gripes. Overall, relative to its competitors, the Nissan Frontier, the Ford Ranger, and the Toyota Tacoma, the space of the Colorado is on par with those rivals. So this isn't necessarily a mark against the Colorado, but space is pretty tight. I'm 6'1". I've got the front seat to where I would have it if I were sitting up there. So certainly I've got room back here. My head doesn't hit, that's nice. My knees are just barely touching the seat back here. I do have some room for my feet, but it is kind of tight and cozy. And what's frustrating about that is that if you've been in a full-size truck, there's tons of room back here, almost too much, because then you're driving around this really big truck. If you're looking for something smaller, like a mid-size truck, you would hope that you would still have more space back here. This is pretty tight compared to a lot of crossovers or SUVs. Even mid-size or compact crossovers are going to have more room back here. So that's been kind of frustrating in the week that I've been testing it. I've also had car seats back here. It gets really tight when you've got car seats and you're trying to put any other kind of cargo back here. So overall, yes, it's a quiet, comfortable interior, but it is definitely on the small side. Finally, when it comes to amenities back here, you do have a pair of USB charge ports. You've got USB-A and then USB-C. And then down below, really nice trick, you've got a 120-volt outlet to plug in all of your extra devices. All right, driving impressions. Now, as I mentioned, we've got 310 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque on the model that we're testing. And on paper, that sounds like a lot of power. That sounds really hardy. The real-world experience, though, isn't quite that great. There's a bit of turbo lag at low speeds, and then at high speeds, when you're going to pass somebody on the freeway, the transmission needs a couple of downshifts to find meaningful passing power. And all of that adds up to an experience where you're just sort of missing a naturally aspirated V6. Certainly, this Turbo 4 has the same amount of power, or maybe even more than a V6, but it doesn't have the same experience. So that's been a little frustrating. That being said, the engine itself is pretty smooth. Even when you push it pretty hard, it sounds pretty refined. There is a bit of turbo on it. You probably can't hear it right now, but when you have the windows down, it's a surprisingly loud turbo, only when the windows are down. As far as the transmission, it's generally pretty good. Yes, it has to do those downshifts that I was talking about, but in everyday driving, it is pretty smooth. It stays out of the way, it kind of blends into the background, and that's what you want an automatic transmission to be doing. One thing I really like about driving this Colorado is how smooth it is. Yes, at all times it feels like a mid-sized truck, but for what it is, it's comfortable, it's quiet. You could drive this every day and really not feel like you're paying a penalty for having a truck. This Colorado does have several different drive modes. There's a towing mode, there's a terrain mode, and then there's also an off-road mode, in addition to the normal mode that it defaults to. What's missing from all those modes is a sport mode. I really wish it had that. You've got this great turbocharged engine. It'd be nice if they dialed up maybe the throttle response or the shift timing to give the truck a little more of a performance edge when you wanted it. So that is a little bit of a miss in my book. When it comes to visibility, it's good but not great. Out the front, you've got plenty of visibility, but it's at the rear where things get a little tight. Yes, you can fold down the rear headrest as I showed you guys earlier, but still that rear window is kind of small, and then actually the tailgate sits up a little high, cutting into your rearward visibility. When it comes to fuel economy, this Z71 with four-wheel drive is rated by the EPA at 17 miles per gallon in the city, 21 on the freeway, and 19 overall. But actually in real-world testing, it's a lot worse. We've been testing this truck over 215 miles of driving, and we're seeing about 16 miles per gallon, and a lot of that has been on the freeway. So unfortunately, we're really not seeing the benefits of a turbocharged four-cylinder over the V6 that it replaces. In terms of competition, it's pretty straightforward. You've got the Toyota Tacoma, the Ford Ranger, and then the Nissan Frontier. Some people might also loop in the Honda Ridgeline. That's kind of a different beast altogether. I would imagine most buyers or most people who are interested in this Chevy aren't going to cross-shop the Ridgeline. But against the rest of those peers, there's a lot of parity in this segment. They're all very competitive, so a lot more of it is going to come down to personal preference. And I do say there's quite a bit to like in this Colorado, so if you're on the fence, definitely test drive one, because I really think you're going to like it. All right, folks, there you have it, our review of the all-new Chevy Colorado. Pros? Well, it's got a handsome exterior and a really well-executed interior. We also like the tech that this Chevy Colorado packs as standard. Plus, it has a comfortable ride for a truck and confident handling. Cons? Well, as we mentioned, the real-world fuel economy doesn't nearly match what the EPA rates this truck at. We also don't love how small the interior is inside, and the fact that there's only one cab and bed configuration available. But overall, we really do like this Colorado. We think Chevy has done a great job updating it and making it super competitive in that midsize truck market, which is a good thing because it's going to face some stiff competition from that Toyota Tacoma and Ford Ranger. But what do you guys think? Is this new Colorado the best there is for midsize trucks, or is the Toyota or Ford going to beat it? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. So for reviews or listings of this Colorado or anything else you're shopping for, new or used, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And before you go, like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. We'll see you out there.